everyone, thanks for watching THV11 Plus. I'm Faith Woodard here with the weekend wrap-up. United States Attorney General Merrick Garland made his way to Arkansas this week, and he brought some positive news. THV11's Rebecca Brown has more on what he had to say and the resources that will soon be available to Arkansas.
It's been 4.5 years since our last AG visit, so they're pretty rare.
On Thursday, United States Attorney General Merrick Garland made a trip to Little Rock. Joined by state and federal officials, Garland shared data from the Justice Department and a strategy to combat violent crime. A strategy he says is working.
Announced new data from across 88 cities. It indicates that violent crime has continued to decline considerably in 2024. That included a further 16.9% drop in murders.
United States Attorney Jonathan Ross says his office has been working for years to keep violent offenders off the street and bring those numbers down, tactics they will keep using.
To get the most severe sentences we can, either through the state court system or the federal court system, to get dangerous people out of our communities.
Garland also announced millions of the dollars in grants that will go towards helping law enforcement resources across Arkansas.
Today's grants are part of the more than $26 million that the department is awarding to organizations and government agencies across Arkansas this month to support law enforcement activities and community initiatives.
Part of that money will help enhance the DNA backlog reduction program and the National Criminal History Improvement Program, two resources Ross says the state needs.
With the #1 caseload in the country, we've made a strong case that we deserve more resources because we use those resources well, and that's borne out by those statistics.
This office here and Justice Department is working in partnership with the agencies reflected around this table to arrest violent felons, to seize and trace guns used in crimes, to disrupt violent drug traffickers and prosecute the individuals and the gangs who are the most responsible for driving violent crime.
In Little Rock, Rebecca Brown, THV11 News.
In other news, Arkansans in the eastern part of the state are reporting cases of dead fish in several lakes in that area. THV11's Carter Thweet spoke to experts who told him Hurricane Francine is to blame.
Well, you might have seen a dead fish, or 2 or even 3 out on the lake sometime, but how about hundreds? That's the situation some in eastern Arkansas are facing, and believe it or not, it's actually a pretty common natural occurrence.
The smell is, I don't even know how to describe it. It makes you not even think about food, for one thing.
David Stanley, one of several people in St. Francis County dealing with what looks like hundreds of dead fish at Blackfish Lake. According to Justin Homan, the fisheries supervisor for the district, Hurricane Francine is to blame. He says the storm carried leaves and other plants into the water, and that's the problem.
It starts to decompose. And the process of that vegetation decomposing, part of that decomposition process, it needs oxygen. So it uses the dissolved oxygen that's in the water.
Which means less oxygen for the fish, and that leads to situations like this one. And while the smell can be overwhelming, Matt Schrader with Arkansas Game and Fish says there's no real danger to people. Unfortunately, there's not a whole lot anyone can do.
Arkansas Game and Fish is responsible for documenting fish kills. Beyond that, we don't necessarily do a lot of cleanup.
So while fish from Jonesboro to Memphis decompose or sink, what are the chances we see this again with Hurricane Helene?
It could happen, yep. Late summer hurricanes can make it happen for sure. We see fish kills and turnovers yearly on bodies of water.
Homan agrees, but says he's a little more hopeful this time around.
In the areas where it's already occurred, most of the vegetation's gone. So I'm hoping there's not as much vegetation on the ground to get flushed out into the water.
Carter Thweet, THV11 News.
We're getting closer and closer to Election Day, and while we focused on the presidential race, many of you have reached out to us about one specific state proposal. You've probably heard of Issue 2, but may not fully understand what it is and what a vote for or against it would do. THV11's Maya Ellison took your questions to a political expert and has the answers.
If you've seen commercials surrounding Issue 2 on our channel, then you've probably found yourself asking, what exactly is it and how does it impact Arkansas?
There are 2 ways to come at Issue 2. One, what would it do legally? And secondly, what's going on behind the scenes.
In 2018, voters approved an amendment authorizing casinos in 4 counties. While people in Garland, Jefferson, and Crittenden County were in favor of bringing casinos to their areas, it was a different story in Pope County.
The people of Pope County, based on the vote, voted ultimately against that constitutional amendment. People in Pope County they got the signatures needed for another constitutional amendment.
Issue 2 is now asking Arkansas voters to decide whether or not the state should take away Pope County's casino license. It would also change the process a different county would go through to get what could be an available license.
The commission that deals with this could grant another license. But if they do, the second thing that is required by this constitutional amendment is before the license can be granted, the community in which the casino will go has to vote in favor of doing it.
A vote against the measure means the current Constitution language would stand, and Cherokee Nation's plans to build the Legends Resort near Russellville will proceed. According to law professor Joshua Silverstein, there are other factors to take into consideration, like who benefits on both sides. But he says it really comes down to one question.
Is local control sufficiently important here to delay for possibly another decade having all of this additional tax revenue for both local and statewide communities?
In Little Rock, Maya Ellison, THV11 News.
And while issue 2 will be on November's ballot, there's now a push to have it disqualified after Attorney General Tim Griffin filed a brief asking the Arkansas Supreme Court to rule that those votes cannot be counted. And if you're still not registered to vote, there's still some time to get that done. The deadline is October 7th. We've got everything you need to know about the process and how to do it on THV11.com. Just text the word VOTE to 501-376-1111 and we'll send that link straight to your phone. And now to a health watch. The CEO of the company behind the popular diabetes and weight loss drugs Ozempic and Wegovy faced questions from U.S. senators this week. Research shows Americans pay far more for those drugs than people in many other countries. Anna Warner is digging into the high prices and has more from Washington.
You got to end this incredible greed, which is taking place literally on the lives of people.
Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders says drug companies are legally allowed to set their prices as high as they want in the U.S. And the prices Novo Nordisk has set for Ozempic and Wegovy here are, in his words, ripping off patients. A Senate committee report in May found the company charges Americans with type 2 diabetes $969 a month for Ozempic, while prices are set at $155 in Canada, $71 in France, and $59 in Germany. The list price for its weight loss drug Wegovy is $1,349 a month in the U.S., but the same product is just $137 in Germany and $92 in the U.K. The senator says he's been pressuring Novo Nordisk for months.
You have these conversations with them. Are you saying, look, I'd like you to lower the drug price by 50% or 40% or 20%?
I'd like them to not charge us any more than they are charging on average people in other countries.
And their response to that is?
It's complicated. You have a very complicated healthcare system in America. We're working on it.
The company told us that 99% of commercial health care plans in the U.S. cover Ozempic and about half the plans cover Wegovy, and that 80% of U.S. patients with insurance pay $25 or less per month for the prescriptions. But some employers have stopped covering the drug because of the high cost combined with high demand. In April, North Carolina stopped covering weight loss drugs, including Wegovy, for state employees like Traylene Williams.
Once they terminated the coverage, it was just like a train hit me.
Williams works in IT for a state agency. Morbidly obese in 2009, she had bariatric surgery, but later found her weight creeping back up. So in 2021, she started Wegovy, paid for by the state's health insurance plan. Now, with coverage dropped, she can't afford the over $1,300 a month price tag.
That's like a mortgage payment that I simply cannot afford.
A Yale study published in JAMA earlier this year found the drugs could likely be manufactured for prices far below current prices. How much? One of its authors told Senator Sanders at a meeting last week.
Semaglutide's the generic name, can be possibly manufactured for just under $5 per month.
University of Minnesota professor Stephen Schondelmeyer studies pharmaceutical markets.
You can make this drug for the cost of a cup of coffee and it's selling for $1,000. So something's broken in the market where that doesn't seem to be priced fairly and where the U.S. is paying a price that's 5 to 10 times what it costs in Europe.
Novo Nordisk's response? We appreciate that it's frustrating that each country has its own healthcare system, but making isolated and limited comparisons ignores this fundamental fact. But for Williams,
I feel disappointed. I feel like simply because we're the USA, they feel like they can charge us more, and that's just simply unfair.
Anna Werner, CBS News.
September is National Lymphoma Awareness Month. Cancer is never something anyone wants to be diagnosed with, but unfortunately, it's touched nearly all of our lives in one way or another. THV11's Ashley Godwin sits down with an Arkansan who was diagnosed with stage 4 Hodgkin's lymphoma and shares his journey with us.
Having the PET scan, having the CT scan, knowing that, it's something there.
It was in this very room where Autry Clayton was first told he was diagnosed with stage 4 Hodgkin's lymphoma cancer.
It was surreal, having cancer 1 and then stage 4 cancer at that. It was a pretty tough blow.
Autry says leading up to the diagnosis, he was having trouble sleeping with night sweats. He would also experience cold spells. Then he noticed a lump on his throat.
She saw the mass on my neck and she was like, it doesn't look right.
Word cancer, the diagnosis of cancer is threatening, and some people think it's a death sentence.
Hodgkin's lymphoma targets the lymph nodes in the body like the neck or armpits. Typically, people between the ages of 20 to 30, and then the 50 and older population can be diagnosed with this cancer. Autry, who is 28 years old, was diagnosed with late-stage Hodgkin's lymphoma, a diagnosis that his doctor Muthu Kumaran says comes with an 85% survival rate.
Hodgkin's lymphoma is very much treatable and curable. Has it been 3 months?
Now, in the same room he was told he has cancer, Autry sees his doctor again, having made it to the other side, cancer-free.
Surreal, just finding out, going through it, and then being on this side. I'm happy some days, and some days like just thinking back to what the whole process, the whole journey was. You really get mindful of it.
On the last day of treatment, Autry was able to put a seed token in UAMS's Seed of Hope sculpture as a celebration for the future and hope for others going through a similar journey.
Seeing myself in the mirror every day, knowing what I've been through and the progress that I've made thus far, it just helps me keep going.
In Little Rock, Ashley Godwin, THV11 News.
Some other common symptoms of Hodgkin's lymphoma are swelling of the lymph nodes, fever, and unexplained weight loss. An Arkansas couple is making national headlines thanks to a pair of shoes now tied to one of the biggest names in hip-hop. We're hearing from them in a story you don't want to miss. But first, is hitting the snooze button bad for your health? Our Verified team is clocking in to separate fact from fiction.
Guys, it seems to be a morning routine for me. I set my alarm for 7 and snooze until 8 a.m. Well, I feel like I'm getting more sleep. Is that actually the case? The question, does hitting the snooze button multiple times actually make you more groggy for the day? Let's verify.
Our sources, Dr. Douglas Kirsch, Medical Director of Sleep Medicine at Atrium Health, Dr. Alicia Roth with the Cleveland Clinic, and the Houston Methodist Medical Center.
My general advice is that you set one alarm. The more alarms you have, the harder it's going to be for you to wake up.
The Houston Methodist Medical Center agrees with Dr. Roth, saying hitting the snooze button repeatedly can increase your chances of being jarred awake during deep sleep, which would leave you feeling groggier than usual. Dr. Kirsch agrees too. Dr. Roth says the reason you keep hitting snooze, you're probably not getting enough Z's to begin with.
So a lot of us have a tendency to go to bed later and wake up later on weekends than on weekdays. That makes it really difficult to wake up on Monday morning and Tuesday morning, and might prompt us to have multiple alarms or multiple snoozes.
Both doctors suggest setting your alarm to the time you actually stop hitting the snooze button or try to unwind and go to bed earlier. So we can verify that yes, hitting the snooze button several times can make you more groggy during the day because it could interrupt deep sleep. With your Verify, I'm Megan Bragg.
just look at this. It honestly looks like a grilled cheese sandwich. It's incredible. But this is cornbread, don't be deceived. This week we're back in Little Rock in the Riverdale neighborhood at the Fold. Now in all likelihood, you have been here before. This has been a staple in the capital city for more than a decade. However, they are taking on a new challenge. They are reinventing the way you think about your weekend brunch. So what do you say? Let's eat it up. How did the Fold get the name The Fold?
Most people think it's because we sell tacos, but it really was because we wanted to have a place where anybody felt welcome to come. So it was sort of like bringing everybody into the fold. It started as our take on sort of Mexican-inspired fare that came from Austin. Bart and Wilson, the other two owners here, spent a lot of time in Austin and really loved all the taco garages and the style of restaurant and food down there, so they wanted to bring that back. Sarah Rep is our, we call her our beverage curator. She's been with us for almost 9 years now and rotates out the margaritas seasonally. I mean, we'll always have the classic margarita and the jalapeno, but she likes to change up. So right now we have a strawberry.
So the new brunch menu, this is pretty exciting for you guys.
So this is actually the first time that we're doing just a full brunch menu. Saturday and Sunday from 11 to 3. So we can offer breakfast burritos and tacos, which we got tons of requests for. The highlight, I think, from everybody else's feedback over the past 2 weeks has been the Hatch chili cornbread that we put on the menu. So
it's served in a skillet, y'all, on top of a plate, dipped into that butter, honey. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I'll never eat regular butter again. Oh my gosh. If you've ever been to the Fold and you had their salsa verde, you know just how good it is. The flavor is awesome. But the tortilla is absolutely grilled to perfection on the top, sealed to perfection. That's the best part about coming here for this brunch menu. You're gonna taste flavors that you would never think you would taste on a breakfast or a brunch menu. Oh my gosh. I am a huge breakfast taco fan. Can't go wrong. Oh my gosh, you can see the sausage, the egg, the amazing onions on here. There are pork grinds on top of this taco. Come on, where are you gonna find that?
When Kendrick Lamar talks, people listen. And when the 17-time Grammy winner and soon-to-be Super Bowl headliner released a new song on his Instagram a couple weeks ago, it got over 3 million likes. The cover art he used, a pair of sneakers, and it actually belongs to a couple in North Little Rock. THV11's Carter Thweet talks to the pair about the kicks that are giving them one of the biggest kicks of their lives.
Information that'll change his life because he yearns for that.
It was big news in the hip-hop world when Kendrick Lamar surprise released a new song on the evening of September 11th. It was his first song since his high-profile feud with Drake, a 5-minute untitled track released simply with a picture of these shoes, a pair of black Air Force Ones.
Drum roll, please.
Here we go, the big moment.
Boom.
These are them.
That's them.
Internet sleuths quickly figured out the shoes came from an eBay listing based in North Little Rock. The account in question called Good to Be You, and it belongs to Billy Lingo and Darla Wilson, who have been together for 20 years and running the account since 2021.
What happened was I sold the shoes, and I said, oh, great. I sold a pair of shoes. So I started,
Right.
I've got them, boxed them up,
Right.
printed the label, and all of a sudden my phone was blowing up.
It was other eBay users letting them know that their shoes, which were quickly snatched up for $70, were now a piece of hip-hop history. The couple says they have no connection to Lamar. This was completely unexpected.
Well, I'm not gonna lie to you. I didn't know a whole lot about him, and I knew who he was. My son had told me about him, and my daughter had told me about him, but I really know about him now.
Once they figured out what was going on, the couple canceled the initial order, and they're now trying to sell the shoes in an auction format starting at $5,000. And since they own the image, they say they plan to sell t-shirts with it. Billy already has one.
And we had an opportunity put before us, and I'm not a greedy person. You know, I got to buy it now for $100,000. I buy it now for $75,000. I know that's kind of, you know, probably not going to happen, but it could.
In North Little Rock, Carter Thweet, THV11 News.
One of Arkansas's best qualities is now being used to help our veterans. We'll see how the serenity of fishing is helping those who served return to their old self. But first, CBS's new series, The Summit, premieres on Sunday night. Here's a sneak peek at the anticipated show.
You're okay?
You okay?
That was the most scariest thing I've ever done.
We're here in the New Zealand Alps filming the summit.
Welcome to Aotearoa.
It's a reality series which takes 16 contestants, put them at the bottom of a mountain range and told them to reach the summit.
To reach a what? This is crazy.
There is never a day in my office where I'm going to be looking at a view like this.
I'm a city girl, so I'm pretty far from home right now.
No more mom, no more wife. I need to finally be Jeannie.
The contestants will have 14 days to reach the summit. Along the way, they're going to face dangerous terrain and heart-pounding challenges, all for the quest of $1 million.
Take that with you and put it in your backpack. You're going to carry this to the summit.
What I hope to gain is more than anything that money could buy.
I want to prove to the little voices in my head that I can do it.
I am doing this so my kids can see what the dad is capable of. I truly want to find out if I still have that dog in me.
No one said it's going to be easy, but I know you ain't a quitter.
Fears may come up during the adventure.
I think the stress is going to definitely wear some people down.
People are too slow. If they're not working as a team, they'll be voted off the mountain.
You're going to get to steal somebody's cash. How are you going to do that? You're going to vote somebody off this mountain.
The toughest thing about this is going to be the other people.
I am willing to take manipulating and cheating to the furthest extent.
I'm sure I have the physical side down, but what I really want to focus on is my social game.
Make friends with people, and hopefully that means they won't eliminate me.
Right now, you're trying to overplay the game.
Nick is a snake. Do not trust him.
We have a little twist called the Mountain's Keeper. Someone who's observing at all times and who will force the trekkers to make difficult but necessary decisions.
To make the summit on time, hard choices must be made. When the last person is crossing, sorry, we didn't have a choice.
I know I have what it takes to win because I literally do not stop.
Someone has to win, so why not me?
Come on, baby, let's go.
Watching paint dry, watching water boil, watching two guys fish. A few things that don't exactly scream excitement, but as THV11's Rolly Hoyt will tell you, there's a catch to this story. He made his way to the great outdoors of North Arkansas, where the trout-filled White River is the perfect medicine for recovering service members.
For most of us, nothing about this late summer fishing trip appears hard, least of all the people on it, but
they're trained to kind of be hard and can meet and force what they're met with. They're trained not to cry about everything.
This party is filled with combat veterans, some permanently disabled.
These guys that are trained to be hard and are hard, they aren't able to be reached by trained hospital doctors.
And that's a problem for people recovering from seeing and experiencing the worst things. With medical science out, this group is trying some natural science. Fly fishing in a river, hoping to catch recovery.
I was introduced to it not knowing I needed it,
Levi Crawford is the marketing director for Rivers of Recovery. He's lucky to be here after 2 combat tours, first in Iraq and then Afghanistan. The latter cut short when a rocket-propelled grenade nearly killed him.
Hospital doctor saying, no, you're not walking, you're not doing this, and next thing you know, I'm doing it.
Coming back from flatlining twice on the table, defying doctors at Walter Reed. Blind in his left eye, almost no feeling in his right arm.
Physically, I thought Superman could do all of it, and got home and it's like bills and the mental part of it I wasn't ready for.
It's at this point that far too many combat veterans get lost in the fog. So for about 15 years, Rivers of Recovery has been trying to reel these vulnerable men and women back.
I got a call one day from Amy Simon, which is our CEO, and she just, do you want to go fishing? I'm like, I'm a country boy, grew up that way, like, yeah, sure, what's the catch?
There's no catch, but hopefully a lot of them. The nonprofit organizes, curates, and guides these combat vets on fly fishing trips. They set up accommodations at lodges like this one in Cotter. They secure the boats and the experts who know where the fish are running. And they let the healing power of this specific sport provide therapy.
We take them outdoors and, sitting by a fire, sitting by a river that's running with like-minded combat veterans that have a lot of times experienced the same situations. It just comes out.
No therapist, but plenty of data to show how this helps these people. There's even been research explaining why fly fishing works so well. It's active and with intricate learned skills that require a certain range of motion.
There's casting and there's an art to it and there's things you got to figure out. Well, anybody, once they figure out something new, it's an accomplishment. It's a pep up.
This particular trip featured several female veterans. That's a departure from an image many people may have. Crawford says they've all come on this trip for slightly different reasons.
A lot of these women have got male, a husband that served too, and they've never been offered anything. So it kind of, in the back of their mind, is, do I deserve it? What I do wrong? Answer is nothing. There's just a void of service there.
In the end, Rivers of Recovery is focused on families, letting these women know their service mattered, letting all of them know there are people who understand what they endured, hopefully returning them to their families, able to face what lies beyond the riverbend.
Well, it did me more than what I realized. Getting home, friends and family were like, you're completely different from a week and a half ago. It was like, all I've been doing is fishing.
Now, these trips cost about $2,500 per person, but the participants don't pay a dime. They rely on donations. In the digital version of this story, we've put a link to do that. There's also a form you can fill out if you think a trip like this would help you. Well, that's it for our weekend wrap up. I'm Faith Woodard. We'll see you next week.